It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Tuesday, June 25th. I'm Wendy Corr, bringing you headlines from the Cowboy State Daily newsroom, presented by Cheyenne Frontier Days. Starting July 19th, from sunup to sundown, there's something for everyone. Check it out at cfdrodeo.com. An influential 7-member industrial siting group in Wyoming plans an early July meeting to sort out a legal mess that could determine the future of the $500 million rail tie wind farm development in Albany County. The dust-up over the future of rail tie is the result of the Fish Creek Preserve Homeowners Association, which had filed a lawsuit to halt the development, according to Energy reporter Pat Mayo.
The bottom line is this homeowners group in southeastern Albany County is fighting tooth and nail to stop this wind farm development from happening, because they say it's going to devalue their homes, and then secondly, it'll ruin the viewscape of what they see now.
The 504-megawatt rail tie project, which is located to the southeast of Laramie, is expected to benefit Albany County by generating $130 million in new tax revenues. As quite possibly the last offspring of the world's most famous bear, Wyoming's Grizzly 399, her huge cub named Spirit faces an uncertain future when he takes off on his own, probably next May. Of Grizzly 399's 18 known cubs, 10 have died. But wildlife photographers told Outdoors reporter Mark Hines that Spirit has a better chance to survive because 399 isn't taking him around settled areas.
One of 399's, one of her litter of quads that she had in 2020 ended up getting killed by wildlife agents in 2022, right after separating from mom, because he was getting into some populated areas and getting into stuff and displaying aggressive behavior toward humans. Probably won't be the case with this cub because he's been raised mostly in the wild.
Despite her advanced age, she's 28, which is pretty old for a grizzly. Bear experts say that 399 will likely live long enough to finish raising Spirit. A 53-year-old Northeast Wyoming man told police he stole dozens of packages from a Gillette United Parcel Service facility just for the rush he gets by taking things, and he thought nobody would notice because so many packages go through the warehouse. Rosette resident Larry Monday began his string of thefts right around Christmas, according to Cowboy State Daily's Greg Johnson.
Apparently, he is one of 2 people on the night cleaning crew, and so he had access to the area with nobody else around. He was caught because people were reporting that they weren't getting their packages. And an investigation went from there, and they put up some surveillance camera and caught him on the camera.
Monday will face felony theft charges for allegedly stealing 168 packages from UPS worth more than $3,800 in a span of about 10 days. I'll be back in just 15 seconds with more news.
In southwest Wyoming, wide open space is waiting. This is how we explore it. In Rock Springs and Green River, Wyoming. Plan your adventure at explorewy.com.
On Monday morning, the U.S. Supreme Court announced it will hear a case determining the constitutionality of Tennessee's ban on transgender surgeries for kids. Political reporter Leah Wolfson said the case is being closely watched here in the Cowboy State.
The reason this will affect Wyoming is because Wyoming recently passed its own law that is extremely similar, banning transgender care for minors. They did that during the most recent legislative session, and that law goes into effect next Monday.
If the High Court upholds the Tennessee ban, it would be difficult to overturn the Wyoming law. But if it rules it unconstitutional, Wyoming's may be nullified. On-again, off-again efforts to rename Devil's Tower to Bear Lodge is on again, with a federal naming committee pushing for the change. Renaming the nation's first national monument has been a divisive issue, according to Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi. He says Wyomingites who've spent decades living their lives within sight of the massive monolith believe their concerns are being overlooked in the debate.
I reached out to Senator Cynthia Lummis about it, and she stated her opposition, but she also noted that the only way the president could change the name is to invoke the Antiquities Act, and the Antiquities Act is null and void in Wyoming without an act of Congress. So nobody can unilaterally rename Devil's Tower, which might take the teeth out of this recommendation.
President Theodore Roosevelt designated Devil's Tower as the first national monument in 1906. The name came from the diaries of geologist and map maker Henry Newton, who designated the massive pillar of rock while exploring the Black Hills with the U.S. Army in 1875. And Guy Fieri dropped in on several spots in Cody and Buffalo as part of his all-American road trip last summer. From a chuck wagon and a Lebanese restaurant in Cody to the TA Ranch and a pizza place in Buffalo, Fieri highlighted the freshly prepared local cuisine in northern Wyoming. But according to Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean, Fieri stepped outside his usual routine when it came to a unique food preservation business at the base of the Bighorns.
He went to Eterna Fresh, which is in the basement of Bomber Mountain Civic Center in Buffalo. And Eterna Fresh is all about freeze-dried foods. These are things that will last until 2047. Okay, I have a bag of their green beans, and it says that these freeze-dried goodies will last until 2047. And they would still be just as fresh as they are in the package. But what Guy Fieri wanted to know was, can you prepare a meal with these things?
It turns out you can, and viewers can see the entire episode when it airs on the Food Network later this summer. The first episode featuring Wyoming food joints aired this past Friday, June 21st, but if you missed that, no worries. It's airing again at 11 a.m. Friday on the Food Network. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.